Welcome back. 2 rants down and 2 more to go. We got not one, but 2 legends celebrating a big birthday. Today are the 50th birthdays of legendary wrestler, actor, author, entrepreneur, and lead singer of the rock and roll group Fozzy, Christopher Keith Irvine, better known by his wrestling name, Le Champion Y2J Chris Jericho. And the 50th birthday of one of my fellow Houston rappers, Brad Jordan, better known by his rap name, Scarface. So who should I talk about first? Chris Jericho or Scarface? You know what, let's talk about Chris Jericho first. So Chris Jericho is best known for his time in WCW and in the WWF/WWE. He was in New Japan Pro Wrestling for a bit, and now he's currently signed to AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Chris Jericho was born Christopher Keith Irvine in Manhasset, New York on November 9th, 1970, the son of a Canadian couple. He is of Scottish descent. His father, hockey player Ted Irvine, had been playing for the New York Rangers at the time Chris Jericho was born. But when his father retired from hockey, him and his family moved back to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where Chris Jericho grew up. Chris Jericho's interest in professional wrestling began where he started watching the local American Wrestling Association events that took place at the Winnipeg Arena with his family, and his desire to become a professional wrestler himself when he saw footage of the late Owen Hart, then appearing at Stampede Wrestling, performing various high-flying moves. In addition, Chris Jericho also cited Owen Hart's older brother, Bret the Hitman Hart, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels as inspirations for him becoming a professional wrestler. His first experience with a professional wrestling promotion was when he acted as part of the ring crew for the first tour, the newly opened Keystone Wrestling Alliance promotion, where he learned important pointers from independent wrestlers Catfish Charlie and Caveman Broda. He attended Red River College in Winnipeg, graduating in 1990 with a bachelor's degree in creative communications. Chris Jericho has been wrestling since 1990. It's been 30 years since he has been wrestling. His accomplishments in WCW: he was a 4-time WCW Cruiserweight Champion and a 1-time WCW World Television Champion. In WWF/WWE, he's a 9-time Intercontinental Champion, a 1-time Hardcore Champion, a 1-time European Champion, a 2-time WCW/World Champion. He was the first ever undisputed champion at the 2001 Vengeance. We're going to talk about that in a moment. A 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, a 2-time WWE Tag Team Champion, a 5-time World Tag Team Champion. He was the 4th Grand Slam Champion and a 9th Triple Crown Champion. He also won 3 Slammies in the WWE. Most Extreme Moment of the Year in 2014, Superstar of the Year in 2008, and Tag Team of the Year in 2009 with The Big Show. And in AEW, he is a 1-time AEW World Heavyweight Champion. So Chris Jericho was in WCW in 1996. He began his run as a heel when he won a title for a third time, defeating Rey Mysterio Jr. at the WCW Sold Out pay-per-view by forcing him to submit to Chris Jericho's submission move before he called it the Walls of Jericho, the Lion Tamer. Yeah, Chris Jericho, he definitely had a great run in WCW. I remember this one match that he had at the 1998 Fall Raw. It was against Bill Goldberg. But it was somebody that's trying to be like Goldberg. Who remember when Chris Jericho made his debut in the WWF in 1999? He definitely had a successful run in the WWF/WWE. Of course, Chris Jericho first long-term feud was with the late Chyna for the Intercontinental Championship. After losing to Chyna at Survivor Series, Chris Jericho defeated her to win his first Intercontinental Champion at Armageddon, at the 1999 Armageddon. Okay. This feud included the controversial decision during a rematch in which two separate referees declared each one of them as the winner of a match for the title. Chris Jericho lost the Intercontinental Championship to then European Champion Kurt Angle at the 2000 No Way Out. Chris Jericho defeated Chris Benoit in a ladder match at the 2001 Royal Rumble to win the Intercontinental Championship for the fourth time. He successfully defended the Intercontinental Championship against William Regal at WrestleMania 17, only to lose it to Triple H on my sister's birthday, the April 5th, 2001 edition of SmackDown. Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit defeated the two-man power trip Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin for the Tag Team Championship on the May 21st, 2001 edition of Raw is War, where Triple H suffered a torn quad muscle and that put him out of action for the rest of 2001. Chris Jericho was part of the triple threat match for the WWF Championship at the 2001 King of the Ring between him, Chris Benoit, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, in which Stone Cold Steve Austin retained his WWF Championship. Chris Jericho had a match against Kane at the 2000 Survivor Series in which he lost. Chris Jericho was part of the Invasion storyline between WCW and ECW, then known as the Alliance. He was part of the 10-man tag team match at the 2001 Invasion, which was won by Team WCW and ECW thanks to Stone Cold Steve Austin turning heel for the second time in 2001. Chris Jericho then began his feud with The Rock in 2001 during the Invasion storyline, where he defeated The Rock at the 2001 No Mercy for the WCW Championship, but he lost the title back to The Rock on the before that, on the October 22nd, 2001 edition of Monday Night Raw. The Rock and Chris Jericho defeated the Dudley Boys for the WWF Tag Team Championship. Chris Jericho and The Rock lost the titles to Test and Booker T on the November 1st, 2001 edition of SmackDown. That's when they continued their feud, and Chris Jericho lost the WCW Championship to The Rock on the November 5th, 2001 edition of Monday Night Raw. Chris Jericho was part of the 10-man Survivor Series elimination tag team match at the 2001 Survivor Series. After being eliminated by Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, this would piss me off, refused to take his loss like a man. So what did he do? He turned heel by attacking The Rock, almost costing Team WWF the match and the company to go out of business. He did the same thing at the 2003 Survivor Series after he got eliminated by Shawn Michaels. He refused to take his loss like a man and hit Shawn Michaels in the head with a steel chair. Of course, Chris Jericho was the first superstar to become the first ever undisputed champion, beating both The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin at the 2001 Vengeance, thanks to Vince McMahon and Booker T. Chris Jericho successfully defended the undisputed title against The Rock at the 2002 Royal Rumble. And he successfully defended the undisputed title at the 2002 No Way Out, defeating Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he lost the undisputed title to Triple H at WrestleMania 18. And he was later drafted to SmackDown at the 2002 draft. Man, Chris Jericho has done it all in the WWE. Who remember when Shaquille O'Neal hosted the Monday Night Raw back in 2009, and when Chris Jericho and Shaq were looking at each other face to face, Chris Jericho said, "When I heard that the most dominant player in NBA history was guest hosting Raw, I automatically assumed it was Kobe Bryant. But instead it's you. The most powerful duo in sports is not LeBron and Shaq." And then Shaq kissed Chris Jericho on the forehead and called him Christina. That was funny as hell. And it was funny when he called the Big Show Fat Boy. Even though I don't like the PG era, that is one of my favorite editions of Monday Night Raw, when Shaq was guest hosting it. My other favorite Chris Jericho moment was his ladder match at WrestleMania 19 against Shawn Michaels. That's another one of my favorite matches by Chris Jericho in the WWE. He was also part of the 2003 Survivor Series 10-man elimination tag team matchup. Team Eric Bischoff versus Team Stone Cold Steve Austin. Chris Jericho was part of Team Eric Bischoff along with Randy Orton, Christian, Mark Henry, and Scott Steiner, defeating Team Stone Cold Steve Austin, Booker T, the Dudley Boys, Rob Van Dam, and Shawn Michaels. So pretty much Chris Jericho left the WWE in 2018. And he wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling a little bit. And since last year, he's been signed to AEW, All Elite Wrestling, where he became the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Yeah, on November 9th. Oh, he won the AEW World Heavyweight Championship at the AEW All Out pay-per-view. But he lost the title to Jon Moxley. Yeah, he lost the title to Jon Moxley on an episode of Dynamite, or I think it was on a pay-per-view. Outside of the wrestling business, Chris Jericho is the lead singer of his rock and roll group Fozzy. My thoughts about Chris Jericho turning 50, he does not look 50. He's definitely one of the most underrated wrestlers in the business. I mean, he beat my two favorites, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, to become the first ever undisputed champion at the 2001 Vengeance pay-per-view. Chris Jericho has done it all. I just can't believe that he's now 50, and it's good that he was able to see 50 this year. Thank you, Chris Jericho, for everything you've done in your amazing wrestling career. From your days in WCW to the WWF/WWE in the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, and even the PG Era. And now you're on AEW every Wednesday night on TNT. Thank you, Chris Jericho, and I hope you have a successful birthday. Now, let's talk about Scarface, who is also 50 years old. Scarface is a hip-hop artist, producer, and politician. He is a member of the hip-hop group The Ghetto Boys. Him and Willie D are the only members of the Ghetto Boys that's left. He was a member of the hip-hop group The Ghetto Boys. The group pretty much broke up in 2016. Scarface and Willie D were the only two members that were left in the Ghetto Boys. All the others, they either left the group or they passed away. We lost DJ Reddy Red in 2018, and we lost Bushwick Bill last year after he lost his battle to pancreatic cancer. So Scarface was born Brad Terrence Jordan on November 9th, 1970 in the south side of Houston, Texas. Scarface attended Woodsland Middle School here in Houston, Texas. He dropped out of high school and worked as a drug dealer. As a teenager, he attempted suicide and subsequently spent time in a hospital. He was brought up as a Christian and converted to Islam in 2006. He began his career as DJ Action, recording and DJing for Lil Troy's Shortstop, a local record label here in Houston. After releasing the 12-inch single Scarface / Another Head to Put to Rest in 1989, written by Chris Mr. 2, he would go on to sign with Rap-A-Lot Records and be part of a member of the group The Ghetto Boys. Let me see how many albums did The Ghetto Boys release. Between 1988 and 2005, The Ghetto Boys has released 8 albums. Making Trouble, Grip It on That Other Level, their self-titled album The Ghetto Boys, We Can't Be Stopped, Till Death Do Us Part, The Resurrection, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and The Foundation. On October 8th, 1991, Scarface released his solo debut album, Mr. Scarface Is Back. It debuted at number 51 on the Billboard 200 and was certified gold on April 23rd, 1993. The 2 singles from the album are Scarface and A Minute to Pray and A Second to Die. On August 17, 1993, Face released his second solo album, The World Is Yours. The album was not as acclaimed as his debut album, Mr. Scarface Is Back, but sold strongly, breaking it into the top 10 on the Billboard 200, peaking at #1 on the top R&B/hip hop albums chart. Let Me Roll was the only single from the album that was released on August 17, 1993. The album was certified gold on October 20th, 1993, selling 2,100,000 copies in the US. On October 18, 1994, Face released his third solo album, The Diary. This is the album that had that song, I Never Seen a Man Cry Till I See a Man Die. The album debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum on December 5th, 1994, selling over 2 million copies. This is one of my favorite Scarface albums. He released his fourth solo album, The Untouchable, on March 11th, 1997. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and #1 on the top R&B/hip hop albums chart and was certified double platinum. The song Smile, featuring Tupac, was released shortly after the deaths of Tupac and the Notorious B.I.G., peaking at #12 on the Billboard Hot 100. On March 3rd, 1998, Face released his fifth solo album, My Homies, debuting at #1 on the Billboard on the top R&B/hip hop albums chart and #4 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum on April 6, 1998. Scarface released a sequel to the album, My Homies Part 2, on March 7, 2006. On October 3rd, 2000, Face released his sixth album, The Last of a Dying Breed. The album was less successful commercially than his last few efforts, but more successfully critically. It debuted at #7 on the Billboard 200, selling 133,972 copies in its first week, and it was certified gold. Here's another one of my favorite Scarface albums. On August 6, 2002, Face released his seventh solo album, The Fix. His first and only album under Def Jam South, the southern hip-hop version of Def Jam Records. The album debuted at #4 on the Billboard 200, selling 160,000 copies in its first week. And the album definitely received a 5 mic review. That's what's up. It definitely deserves a 5 mic review. Of course, you have producers from the album by, of course, Kanye, the Neptunes, and Mike Dean. The album only has 2 singles, Someday and My Block. There's 2 more songs that I know from the album. Guess Who's Back, featuring Benny Siegel and Jay-Z. And In Cold Blood, which is on Def Jam Vendetta, which Face is a playable character on. Scarface is a playable character in the video games Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Fight for New York. And like I said, on March 7, 2006, he released a sequel to My Homies. On December 4, 2007, the same day Pimp C passed away, Face released his 9th solo album, Made. The album was both critically and commercially successful, making it to number 17 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 on the top R&B/hip hop albums chart. And the only single from the album is Girl You Know, featuring Trey Songz. Girl You Know is a sample of Lenny Williams' I Love You. Face released his 10th solo album, Emerteris, on December 2nd, 2008, debuting at number 4 on the Billboard 200, selling 42,000 copies in his first week. And Scarface claimed that it would be his last album until he released his 11th solo album, Deeply Rooted, on September 4, 2015. Scarface was also named. He received an I Am Legend award at the 2015 BET Hip Hop Awards. So, my thoughts about Scarface turning 50. Scarface does not look 50. He still looks the same from his days being with the Ghetto Boys and going solo. Scarface is one of my favorite rappers here in Houston, Texas, him and Lil Keke. Scarface does not deserve no credit. He definitely deserves more credit for everything that he's done out his career. Thank you, Scarface, for everything that you've done. I'm so glad that he was able to see 50 this year. Despite that he was tested positive for COVID-19 back in March and he's been having kidney problems, I'm so glad that he was able to see 50 this year. So with that being said, that wraps up my third rant celebrating the 50th birthdays of Scarface and Chris Jericho. Let me know what you guys think about these two turning 50 on the same day. Hit subscribe and hit that notification bell for my next rant about one of my favorite celebrities in honor of their birthdays. Thumbs up if you liked the video. Thumbs down if you didn't. Leave your comment down below. I'll be back around 10 or 10:30 for my last rant. Reminiscing 20 years of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H and Rikishi from the November 9th, 2000 edition of SmackDown. Happy 50th birthdays to Chris Jericho and Scarface.